Welcome to Relationship in Progress with your host, LaShonda Thomas of Lioness Counseling, back again with you this October. So, today I want to talk a little bit about something more special, in particular to October of this month, because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And a lot of people don't know that. So I'm here to make sure that everyone listening to me understands the effect that domestic violence has on relationships in our culture in general. So that brings me to the topic of today. And my title of what I'm talking about is Love is Respect. Because in order to love someone, to truly love to someone, at the heart of what love means, it means to respect them, to respect their boundaries, to respect who they are, and respect their place in your life. So, before I can just jump into this whole topic about love is respect, I first need to define what is domestic violence so that we're all on the same page and we're acting accordingly. So, domestic violence is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. Other words used to discuss domestic violence include domestic abuse, intimate partner violence, as well as dating violence. They're all synonyms, all one and the same to mean the exact same thing. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about power and control. Because if I had to simplify it, what is the heart of all this drama that we talk about all the time and all the chaotic relationships that we know or have been a part of, power and control is at the center of every issue that happens within a violent relationship. Domestic violence, it does not discriminate. It includes people of any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender. Anybody can be a victim or a perpetrator of domestic violence. It can happen to people who are married, people who are cohabitating, which is just a fancy word of people who are living together or dating. And it also affects people of all socioeconomic backgrounds and education levels. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter where you school, it doesn't matter where you grew up with, it doesn't matter about any of those because domestic violence does not discriminate at all. So, we're going to discuss some facts about domestic violence, and these facts were taken from newhope.org. So, if you want to do some more research on the subject matter, a lot of statistics and helpful information can be found on this website, newhope.org. The first statistic, and probably the most important that we need to talk about, is most domestic violence incidences are never reported. Hence, that's why you see a lot of campaigns that say stop the silence, because that is probably one of the biggest barriers to us addressing domestic violence as a society as a whole, because it's never reported. So we can really never discuss something or make a campaign about it or declare it to be an epidemic if we don't have clear, concise statistics or numbers to govern our next actions. 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime. This exact same number, 1 in 4 of the GLBT, which is gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender individuals, also experience domestic violence. So this statistic is just clear in saying that it doesn't discriminate. It's going to be 1 in 4 women or 1 in 4 people of alternate sexualities in that population will experience some sort of domestic violence. Women ages 20 to 24 are at the greatest risk of becoming victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence is also the leading cause of injury to women, more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. Every 9 seconds in the United States, a woman is assaulted or beaten. So I've already talked for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So that have mean plenty of women have been assaulted or beaten just in this conversation of me talking right now at this moment. Every year, 1 in 3 women who is a victim of homicide is murdered by her current or former partner, which is why a lot of times when women are killed, the first person that is questioned or identified or targeted is going to always be their partner. because statistics proves 1 out of 3 times that a woman is killed, it is by their current or a former partner. So they have to rule out all people they have been dating in order to successfully solve the case, because that's just the luck of the draw. So if you happen to be dating someone who happens to be murdered, you will be questioned. So please, please, please don't get offended. It is what it is. This is just pure statistics. Husbands normally kill their wives. Domestic violence also has a huge impact on children. I just gave you some statistics about how it affects women. And I'm not discriminating. I'm not saying women cannot hurt men and do not be abusive partners, because we all know, to be truthful, a lot of domestic violence is mutual. It happens between both partners, and they have cultivated violence within the culture of their relationship. So yes, I'm not going to speak in particular on that, because a lot of statistics just don't prove that type of stuff. But this is just first-hand experience, me being a therapist and me growing up in Oak Cliff, watching all this type of stuff around me, especially us in the culture. I'm going to say the culture, meaning that we talk a lot about hood love, and we think that's cute to be fighting. We got all these songs, Mary J. Blige, I love you to death, but hood love song with Trey Songz, that is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm speaking of mutual dating violence. It does happen, and it happens quite often. A lot of times women do abuse their male partners, and male partners do not respond. It's just that number is very, 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 very seldomly and rarely reported for obvious reasons. Guys don't want to appear like punks. They think nobody's going to believe them. The list goes on and on and on. So I'm not biased against this. I am very well aware of the mutual violence, as well as women also being perpetrators. But the statistics that are mostly reported, that are more concise and accurate, are more so in the lines that the woman is the victim and the male is the perpetrator. But that does not always happen. Making that clear once again. So back to what I was discussing about domestic violence and its impact on children. Every year, more than 3 million children witness domestic violence in their homes. A 2005 Michigan study found that children exposed to domestic violence at home are more likely to have health problems. This includes becoming sick more often, having frequent headaches or stomach aches, and being more tired and lethargic. And I'm going to also add a tidbit in my profession that these children who are exposed to domestic violence are more likely to succumb to any mental health illnesses or diagnoses based on being in a violent environment. Boys in particular who witness domestic violence are twice as likely to abuse their own partners and children when they become adults. Hence, it goes back on the nature versus nurture debates. Does our environment solely shape us? Does our environment have more control over the outcome of our life than being nurtured? But this is one of those that were both come into play, because if there's so much violence going on in the home, I imagine that there's not very much nurturing that is happening in those homes as well. 2, kids do what they see. When you see small kids, small little boys, 5 years old, hitting on all the girls in daycare, and they're not hitting on any of the boys, because that's what they're seeing at home. Kids only emulate. Not to say that they don't have their own brains and their own capacity to think, but at those very young ages, they only do what they see. So all inappropriate behaviors that they do, it came from somewhere. And so therefore the home is always going to be the first to be attacked, the first to be examined when those type of things happen, those transpire. And when they go to court and the male being the perpetrator, oftentimes lawyers will often pull out their childhood history, saying that they saw this at their home, this is what their life was like, and this is why they should not go to jail for the rest of their life, because it wasn't their fault as to why it happened. Yes, those are causal factors that can lead you to be an abuser, but there are still reasons why not every person who grows up in that environment exhibits those behaviors. So people who are abusers, regardless of what happened when they were kids, you still suffer the consequences of your actions. Yes, some sympathy should be given and maybe some lenience to be given in those situations, but that does not excuse the behavior at all because once you become an adult, you are responsible for your own behaviors, not mom and dad. There has to become a point in our lives where we stop trying to blame mom and dad about what happened to us or about why we came to be the person that we actually are. Domestic violence, it does not only just affect the kids and the people who are actually experiencing it, it affects the community and society as a whole. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD for short, domestic violence is the third leading cause of homelessness among families. The third leading cause. I've witnessed this personally because right after grad school, my first job that I had was at the Salvation Army in the domestic violence shelter as a child and family advocate. So, as a child and family advocate, it was my responsibility to make sure that all of the women who came in with children, their children had clothes, they were enrolled in school, they got uniforms, school supplies, daycare assistance if so needed, and anything regarding that. That is why I understand and know that this is the third leading cause of homelessness among families because oftentimes the woman has to take her kids out of that environment because of course she doesn't want them to either get hit or beaten or to just grow up in an abusive environment and feeling like it was their fault of how their kids ultimately turned out to be. So even if you're not necessarily in domestic violence shelters, if you go in any family shelter or any women's shelter, if you talk about those women and what are the factors that led to them being there, a lot of times domestic violence is going to come up as a causal factor. Survivors of domestic violence face high rates of depression, sleep disturbances, anxiety, flashbacks, and other emotional distresses. So that affects our community as a whole because these are the people that are going to MHMR and going to all these free or reduced services and to which they are understaffed because they don't have enough people to be able to deal with this crisis as a whole. Me as a therapist, a lot of women that I have had who are depressed, especially those who have low self-esteem, a lot of them come from domestic violence, either experiencing it as an adult or experiencing it as a child in the household that they grew up in. So it is impacting our community because these are all the tax dollars that are going to be spent on mental health initiatives or programs to help people who cannot afford mental health treatment. Domestic violence contributes to the poor health for many survivors. For example, chronic conditions like heart disease or gastrointestinal disorders can become more serious due to domestic violence. There are plenty of research studies out there that state that people become physically sick due to stress that happens in your life. Hence, that's why I talked last week. If you tuned in on self-care and how to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself and your emotional stability, it will manifest itself psychosomatically, just meaning fancy word saying that you're going to physically get sick or something will physically happen to you because you're not dealing with your own emotional disturbances. Domestic violence costs more than $37 billion a year in law enforcement involvement, legal work, medical and mental health treatment, and lost productivity in companies. Law enforcement, because there are plenty of times police have to respond to these calls, separate the perpetrator, put him in jail for 24 hours, and then he's right back out. That is wasted money to go out and do that because we all know that that is not, that really don't put a dent in anything because he's going to come back to the household and do the same things. Legal work, because you have services like legal aid who provide services to survivors trying to get money from like the crime victims compensation fund and stuff like that to get them money to be able to start a new life and to be able to accomplish the goals that they needed to do. Of course, there's medical costs in that $37 billion because when they go to the hospital because their perpetrators have blackened their eye or broke some bones or beat them unconscious, that is money that we spent on that end. And then, of course, the mental health treatment, like I've already discussed, about paying for those services, these domestic violence shelters and therapists that specialize in working with survivors. And then the lost productivity at companies, because these women, a lot of times, they're working somewhere. And so if I'm coming to work with a black eye, beaten up, I'm not going to be in the mood to be my best self and to do the best work that I can do because I have so much going on at home. Or just the frequent no call, no shows, coming in late, giving excuses about why I can't come to work and all these type of things. That results in lost productivity. That results in less money that company is making, less money that family is making that is coming in, less money that is cycled through our economic system in general. So that is a healthy cost to our society at 37 billion. Because if you thought about it, if we really got a handle on domestic violence, and let's say we just cut that in half, imagine what we can do with that other billions of dollars that we've saved on how we can work more in prevention and teaching people those warning signs so people don't even get into these type of situations in the first place, or teaching them how to get help so when they or loved ones or friends get into these situations, they have options and they know exactly what to do instead of feeling stuck and being stagnant and slow moving because I don't know what the end is going to be. So there are plenty of different types of abuse, because oftentimes when we talk about domestic violence and domestic abuse, 9 times out of 10 people first thoughts are physical abuse. Physical abuse is a very, very small subsidiary section of abuse in general, because you can have physical abuse, you can have sexual abuse, you can have emotional abuse, there can be financial abuse, and there also can be digital abuse. So, of course, we already know what physical abuse looks like, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that than it has already gotten for the past years on topics of domestic violence. So, emotional abuse includes things like putting her down, making her feel bad about herself, calling her names, making she think that she's crazy, playing mind games, humiliating her, and making her feel guilty for causing the abuse. And you can make her feel guilty by, using these threats that you're going to leave, and if you leave, she can't be this person. She won't be the same. She needs you. Just playing those mind games and using manipulative behaviors. And when I'm talking about all these different types of abuse, I am looking at the power and control wheel. Because remember in the beginning when I defined what domestic violence is, talked about power and control, and I highlighted and put those words in bold so y'all know that it's very important. Anytime you go to any shelter or any services regarding any type of abuse, you're going to see that power and control wheel plastered everywhere in the shelters, in the offices of the therapists that you see, and you're going to hear therapists talk in regards to the power and control wheel. So, right now when I'm talking about these different types of abuse, I'm talking about the power and control wheel as well, because like I said, at the heart of all domestic violence, regardless of what type it is power and control. If I'm abusing you emotionally, I have power over you. I have the power to make you feel good about yourself or the power to make you feel bad about yourself. And we can use that financial abuse. Financial abuse can include things like preventing her from getting a job. Of course, I'm saying her because more likely the male is the perpetrator and the woman is the victim. But do not mean that these are not synonymous and these words are not interchangeable. They're very interchangeable. Making her ask for money when you know that she needs the money. Giving her an allowance, taking her money if she is the only one that is working, the sole provider. Oftentimes abusers take the woman's entire check and divvy out what they feel that she should have, and normally it's a very small amount of money to make sure that she does not leave, and not letting her know or allowing her to access his income or the perpetrator's income at all, regardless of their status, regardless if they're married or not. So I'm talking about a lot of times we're seeing her instead of him, because oftentimes men use their male privilege to assert their will on females. And when I say that male privilege, I mean treating her like a servant, making her do all of the domestic stuff around the house, him making all the decisions, acting like the master of the castle, and, being the one to define the roles in the house and what they are going to do together as a couple. So some sexual abuse can include forcing her to have sex when she doesn't want to, making sex very painful and not pleasurable, making her have sex with multiple partners, or engaging in pornography acts, making videos that she may not have consented to, making her have sex with friends or other women, or whatever may have you. Those are what I mean when I say sexual abuse. And this kind of goes into that topic of, can you rape your wife? Because I know that is a very, very controversial topic. And I'm going to say, yes, you can, because you still does not have consent. Just because you are married, that does not imply consent forever. When you take your vows, for better or for worse, you do not say, and I consent to forever have sex regardless of what is going on. No. Simple for that. So that is easy way to say that. And then also we have digital abuse. Now that we are in this technologically savvy world, we have all these things at our disposal, you can abuse someone digitally. Just like we talk about cyberbullying, same thing with domestic violence. It's essentially cyberbullying, meaning posting things on social media that may not be true, embarrassing them by posting embarrassing pictures. It may be sexual in nature, putting their business out there, creating lies in the world, just making her look bad in any shape, form, or fashion on social media in general, or just any websites. Digital abuse could include in you selling pornography videos that you have made through her work. That is still digital abuse because you did not consent to make the video or to allow you to give any profit to that. So once again, if you're paying attention to the different types of abuse that I'm discussing, you can hear at the heart of all of this, power and control. Power to make you do what I want you to do, and I have control of everything. I have control of the money that is going through. I have control of when we don't have sex. I have control about when I allow you to go see your friends or not. I have control when I allow you to go see your family. Control to what extent you can have relationships with other people in general, and controlling the type of parent or mom that she could be. That is different types of abuse, and power and control being at the heart of all of that. So, kind of talked about the different types of abuse and how you can see those. So now I want to talk about the warning signs of domestic violence, because a lot of times that is the question that a lot of women ask: why did I not see it at the beginning? How did I not know? How did I get to be this point? I never thought that I would be this kind of woman that allows someone to hit me. No one in life as a small child dreams and envisions of fantasies where they're going to be in an abusive relationship. No one intentionally wants that. That is not the dream when we think about with our white picket fence and our dog and our 2.5 kids. That is not in that vision. So let me discuss some of those warning signs so that you can see it before it even happens and know when you need to exit stage left before things get to be dangerous. So one of the warning signs is that they tell you that you can never do anything right. You can't never cook right. You can't never iron my shirts the way I want you to iron them. You can't take care of your kids like you should as a mom. That is a warning sign. Another warning sign is showing extreme jealousy of your friends and time spent away. That extreme jealousy can be where you over there talking to that man, or you're doing this with this person, doing that with that person, which 9 times out of 10 is really not the case. Or saying that you cannot go out to the clubs because I don't want other men to be looking at you or to be swayed in any way by any other type of man. Another warning sign you can look for is they keep you discouraged in general from your goals in life. from bettering yourself in any way. You ain't gonna be able to do that. I don't know why you waste your time, or they don't allow you to do that, because then you have means of escape. Another warning sign is they don't want you to see your friends or family members at all. They feel like, you're talking about them when you're with your family, so therefore you don't need to be with your family members at all. Or your family members may encourage you to leave that partner, and they may not want that at all. Another warning sign is they insult or demean you or shame you or just put you down at all time. Talk down to you in general. Another warning sign is that they control every penny spent in the house. And when I say every penny, I mean every penny. They know everything coming in, knowing everything coming out. Another sign is that they take your money or refuse to give you money for necessary expenses like buying groceries, changing the oil in your car, all those type of things. If they look at you or act in ways that scare you, then that's a warning sign. You should never be afraid of your partner at all. You should never look at them and see red. If they control who you see, where you go, and what you do. If they prevent you from making your own decisions. If they tell you that you are a bad parent or threaten to harm you or take away your children. That's a warning sign. It's another way of emotional abuse. And so I stay in this relationship because I don't know what you're going to do to my kids. If they prevent you from working or attending school, because both of those give you means to leave. They destroy your property or threaten to hurt or kill your pets. If they intimidate you with guns, knives, or other weapons, then that one right there should be clear as day to be gone. And I've had friends where this happened, and then sometimes they get into that cycle where, he loves me enough to go through these elaborate schemes to threaten me or to threaten other people because that's how much he loves me. No. The title of this whole talk that we're talking about is Love is Respect. That is not respect at all if you put a gun to my knife or a gun or knife to my neck or threaten any of my loved ones. That is not respect. Another warning sign is they pressure you to have sex when you don't want to do or do things that you are not sexually comfortable with. And also, the last but not least, is pressure you to use drugs or alcohol. Oftentimes, we always see crazy things about these sex slaves and these scandals going on, and oftentimes they kept them doped up pretty much in order to keep you in a less than performance ideal state so that you don't have the means to leave at all. Or when you do try to reach out or ask for help, now you're an addict and no one wants to help you, and they won't look past that to see that I'm being abused at home. So these are all the ones that you see. These are all the warning signs. The first one that I normally see in relationships is that they keep you from seeing your friends and your family members. You can't go out because they're always jealous that you're talking to this person, that person, so that you don't go out and you don't have fun because you don't want to argue or fight because they're jealous. That is the first warning sign. Of course, a little bit of jealousy is normal. A little bit of jealousy is fine in normal, healthy, functioning relationships. Because I know there's certain things that I will not allow my husband to do because there's a little bit of jealousy around that type of stuff, and that's 100% healthy. But that extreme jealousy, flipping out over pictures or selfies or whoever you're with, that is your first warning sign. Pay attention to these warning signs or red flags so that you can leave before it gets to the point where you're stuck. And a lot of women or survivors of domestic violence, they know what I mean when I say by being stuck. You know what that is like. So now I've given you the warning signs of domestic violence. I want to answer the controversial question that always comes up. Why do people stay in abusive relationships? Why? Before I even became of age to even be in this field, before I even went to college, I used to think that women was just dumb. It was just dumb women just stayed in relationships. Because that could never be me. I'd have been there left if you hit me. If you hit me one time, hopefully it's one time I'm gone. Second time I'm going to jail because I'm going to kill you. And that's what a lot of women say. That's what we always talk when we're in conversations. But it's not that just clear cut. It doesn't just happen like that. It's not that one day. There's a lot of build up. There's a lot of smaller things that happen before it gets physical. There's a lot of mind games that's being played. There's a lot of manipulation that happens. So it's not that clear and dry that, oh, he hit me, I'm gone. Oh, he hit me, I stayed. It's not that simple. I wish it was. If it wasn't simple, it wouldn't be an issue right now, and we wouldn't have Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, why do people stay in abusive relationships? First reason is fear. I fear what you're going to do if I leave. I fear that you're going to keep my kids because I can't take the kids from you technically. And women who have kids find it even 1,000 trillion billion times more harder to leave for that reason. Because if you take their kids out of state, that's kidnapping. If you have their kids where they can't reach them, that's kidnapping. If you violate the terms of their custody agreement, you're going to get jail. You're going to get CPS called and get your kids taken away from you. So that's why that fear, you got to report every abuse, every occasion, regardless of what you feel the police is going to do or not do. Because fear is what keeps us stagnant. Fear in general, not just in domestic abusive relationships, keeps us from growing and changing and being and doing what we should do because we fear the unknown. Because I know what this situation is like right now. I know when to make him mad. I know when he gonna come home and hit me. I know his triggers, what to say, what not to say. But without him, I don't know what to do. I don't know what life looks like. So I prefer this predictability than their fear of the unknown. Another reason people stay because they think it's normal. Earlier when I was talking about statistics about kids growing up in households, boys are twice as more likely to become abusers if they grow up in a household that is like that. Those kids believe stuff like this is normal. Women who grew up in households where their dads hit their mom or mom dated multiple men that were being abused, they feel like this is just part of relationships. This is just part of it. It just happens with it. You can choose to stay or you choose not, but there is good even if you're being abused. There's still good parts to the relationship. For those who are a member of the GLBT community, the fear of being outed keeps people to stay because if I have not revealed to my family that I'm gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, I don't want you to take that away from me. So once again, it's power and control coming into play. I don't want the world to know. I'm not ready for everybody to know that, that I'm gay. Or embarrassment or shame. I never thought that I would be the woman to get hit by my husband. And he is so charming, when he's out in the world, people think he's just this such great person. No one is going to believe me. They're going to be like, what? I feel shamed I even got in myself in this situation. Or if someone told me not to date them in the first place, I didn't listen and I chose to keep dating this person. So I'm shameful. Or a lot of times that shame has made you feel so guilty that you feel like no one else would want you at all. And another reason could be if you had contracted like HIV or AIDS from your partner. That may be another reason why you don't want to leave. Who would want to date me? Who would want to be in an intimate relationship with someone who is positive? That's a hard pill to swallow because not many people would choose to date someone who is positive, even though we're in 2018, even though there has been so much more technological advances to treating HIV/AIDS that you can have a relationship with a partner and never give it to them, never contract it to them. We still live in a society where people just don't want to take that risk. But ultimately, I feel like the biggest reason people stay because of low self-esteem. In any client I've ever had was in abusive relationships, men and women, as well as people in the GLBT community. It's because I don't like who I am. And the only sense of fulfillment or happiness I have is when I'm with you. So I'd rather cling to you and be happy this 10% of the time that you fulfill me than to leave you and to never be happy. Or you done brought my self-esteem so low because I may have gained weight or I'm not the same person I was with. same person I was when we started, and you consistently throw that into my face, no one is going to want you fat, ugly, broke down woman, dumb, can't spell, those type of things. To me, I feel like that is primary, the number one issue why people don't leave, because I don't love myself, and the only love I feel is from another person. Cultural or religious reasons. If you grew up traditionally Christian or whatever religion you have, you were women are subservient, and you never leave, or you go to a culture you don't believe in divorce, and so you stay because regardless of what the situation is, we don't believe in divorce nor condone it. It could be some language barriers or immigration status issues. While I was working in the Salvation Army, it was a Hispanic family that was there quite some time, well past the normal stay. Mom could not speak English, but the kids could, and so they would translate, and that was one of the reasons that she gave me, is because he took care of all of her government paperwork. He did everything for her because she was an illegal immigrant, neither could she speak English. So therefore she stayed, because how can I go and get help when I can't even speak the language of this country? Or I feel like this is the number two reason: lack of money or resources. Because even if you're the woman and you're making money, they control the money. So they have access to the money. So I can't leave you because I can't even access the amount of money that I would need in order to leave you. Or oftentimes abusers who, when they feel like their partner's going to leave, they take their identifying information, passports, IDs, social security, birth certificates, to where if you stay, you got to become a different person. Literally become a different person in order to leave. So these are just some of the reasons why people stay in abusive relationships. Because of course there are many other reasons, but these are the top reasons, and most reasons given can fit into one of these categories. So if I have identified that I am in an abusive relationship, what do I do? How can I get help if I am the victim? Of course, my first recommendation would be contact your local domestic violence shelter or your domestic violence hotline, because they are good at giving you steps of what to do next, resources that you can do, and giving you a bigger picture of just what is in front of you. And especially if you need to leave, you need to get new IDs, or you don't have the money, a domestic violence shelters, they always have legal aid and people on staff that can help you rebuild your life. So don't let that be the factor of why you're staying. A domestic violence shelter, they will get you all this type of stuff that you left. Nothing you gotta do. How do you get help? You gotta cut off all contact with them. In order to become a survivor, you can never be back cool with them. If you have children in play, there are multiple ways that this partner can still be very active in their children's life and not have any contact with you, not know where you live or anything about you. And sometimes we put so much value on materialistic things that we don't want to leave, because if we leave, we got to leave all our stuff. Leave everything. All this can be get back, because that's just stuff that ties you down to this partner. You can always get help and contact legal aid to help you with the legalities of that, especially if you have children, about wondering what can I do because I have children with my abuser. They have things that access, like I said before, the Crime Victim Compensation Fund, that you can get money for being a victim to help you get on your feet and to restart the life you need. Surround yourself with support. Don't surround yourself with people who will agree with your perpetrator or who feel like you deserve to be beat or hit in any way. Taking care of yourself by doing things that you enjoy to do. And of course, I'm a therapist, so of course you already know what my next one is going to be, is considering going to counseling, getting some help, because it wasn't just about the physical act like I discussed before. If there are issues like low self-esteem, that's when you really need to come see a therapist, because a lot of these issues are underlying, and if you don't deal with them properly and appropriately, your next partner is going to be an abuser as well. Because a lot of women that are in domestic violence shelters are women, by the time they reach out for help, they have been in multiple abusive relationships. And so they need help in identifying the patterns and identifying what is it within yourself that is attracting these type of partners, and what do you need to do in order to get yourself together. So therapists like me, of course, you can always contact me at www.lionesscounseling.com. You can call or text me at 817-888-8009 if you need help navigating this situation, or just going to counseling to deal with that internal fight that you have within yourself. But I'm not just going to talk about the victims. I want to extend my services to those abusers as well. So abusers, if you identify yourself as being an abuser, you need to go to counseling as well, because you need to get help on why do you feel like this is an appropriate way to deal with your partner. Or if it's not just an individual therapist, a lot of times governments will mandate, if you have ever gotten in trouble for being an abuser, to go to a batter's intervention program or something of that sort, to where you can identify the patterns and to get yourself under control and to get your issues that you have addressed before you become abusive again. So, how do I know if I'm an abuser? You know if you're an abuser if you get angry or insecure about your partner's relationships with other people and feel possessive. You're an abuser if you frequently call and text to check up on your partner or have them check in with you. I mean multiple times a day. And I mean checking in when you go this place. When you leave, call me. When you arrive, call me. That's what I mean. You know if you're an abuser if you check up on your partner in different ways, such as reading their emails, checking their checks, watching them on social media, following all their live videos, calling their job to make sure they're there if they say they are there. You're also an abuser if you feel like your partner needs to ask you permission to go out, to get a job, to go to school, or to spend time with others. You're an abuser if you get angry when your partner doesn't act the way you want them to do or do what you want them to. You're an abuser if you blame your anger on drugs, alcohol, or your partner's actions. We're all adults. The only blame is within yourself. No one can make you do anything. No drug can make you do anything. No alcohol can make you do anything. People can make you do anything. It's your choice. You're an abuser if you find it difficult to control your anger and to calm down. You're an abuser if you choose to express your anger by threatening to hurt your partner or actually physically do hurting him. You're an abuser if you express your anger verbally through raising your voice, name calling, or using put downs. You're also an abuser if you forbid your partner from spending money or require that they have an allowance to keep receipts of their spending, or requiring that you have access to their bank accounts. You're an abuser if you force or attempt to force your partner to be intimate with you. Just because you live with someone, just because you're married, does not mean you can force your body on someone. No is always going to be no, regardless of the situation or circumstance. Also, last but not least, you know if you're an abuser if you blow up in anger at small incidences or mistakes your partner makes. For instance, she did not cook your dinner in the traditional way that you wanted to be cooked. So you got upset, threw away all the food, broke all the dishes, and broke all the glasses, and tore up the kitchen. That's what I mean by blowing up at small incidences. And that's how you know that you're an abuser. If you identify yourself as an abuser, you need to get help ASAP. Don't take the time at all. Get help now, because this is serious. We're in a culture of the Me Too culture where people are coming out of woodwork saying that somebody touched me, did this, and all of that goes into domestic violence as well. So the other controversial question that I have, so I know the first one is, why do people get in abusive relationships? The second question that we have is, can abusers change? Good question, because this kind of goes into people can change, or can they not change? I personally believe that abusers can change and that people can change, but In order to change, there are things that needs to happen before this person has fully recovered. So some of those things that they need to do before is they need to admit fully what they've done, stop the excuses and blaming other people or drugs and alcohol for your behaviors. They make amends to you and other people that they have hurt. If they can accept responsibility and recognize that an abuse is a choice. If they can identify the patterns of controlling behavior used. If they can tell you this is what I did in order to control this person. If they can identify the attitudes that drive abuse. And the attitudes, I mean that, men is the king of the household. They run it the way they want to do. Blase, blase. They can also change if they can accept that overcoming abusiveness is a decades-long process and never declaring yourself cured. Same thing with AA and NA. When they see that you're always going to be an alcoholic, you're always going to be an addict, it doesn't change. I don't care if you're 20 years clean, you're always going to be an addict. Same thing in this world. I don't care if you hadn't hit no woman in 10 years. We all know that there's only one thing that can happen to make yourself go all the way back to that. Another way you can change is if you stop or do not demand credit for any improvements that you have made. Just because you haven't hit me in 2 weeks and you have been on me for 2 years, you don't need no credit for that, because that still does not put a dent in 2 years of abuse. You can change if you don't treat improvements as vouchers to be spent on educational, occasional acts of abuse. Such as, for example, I haven't done anything like this in a long time, so it's not a big deal. Yes, it is. It's a big deal every time, regardless of the reasons or circumstances. You can change if you can develop respectful, kind, and supportive behaviors. You can change if you carry your weight and you share the power. Remember we talked about power and control? Share it. You can change if you change how you respond to your partner's anger or grievances. So if they come at you in a negative light and you choose not to react negatively, that is an act of change. You can also change if you change how you act in heated conflicts when you are angry, because we talk a lot in batter's intervention programs about that anger and how it starts and how to stop it. And also, but not last, you can accept the consequences of your actions, including not feeling sorry for yourself about the consequences and not blaming your partner or children for them. Pretty much accepting that it is what it is, this is where I am in my life, and this is what needs to happen in order for me to grow and to not continue this cycle. Especially if you're a man who grew up in a household where your dad abused your mom, you don't want to continue to put that out in the world and to raise little boys to turn out to be men just like you, and to just keep going in circles and circles and cycles and cycles of these patterns of abuse in your family. So now I have to talk about all this type of stuff about domestic violence. We discuss what it is. We define domestic violence. Remember, at the heart of the definition is going to always be power and control. I discussed the facts in domestic violence, such as 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence through their lifetimes. Domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women, and every year 1 in 3 women who is a victim of homicide is murdered by their current or former partner. We kind of talked about how it impacts the children, how 3 million children per year witness domestic violence in their homes. Children who are exposed to violence generally have more health effects and experience more mental health diagnoses. We talked about the power and control will. In this talk, we also discussed the warning signs of domestic violence, such as showing extreme jealousy, controlling who you see, where you go, and what you do, exhibiting any threatening behaviors, or prevent you from growing or becoming a better person. We talked about why people stay and the primary reason for having low self-esteem and not self-love. We talked about how do you get help, and the first step being contact your local domestic violence shelter or hotline so they can give you the step-by-step guide of what you do need to do next. And we also just talked about, if you're an abuser, how you know that you're an abuser today in this topic. So I got to end with a quote because I did not start with a quote this time. No, I did not forget. The quote is, "Incredible change happens in your life when you decide to take control of what you do, have power over, instead of craving control over what you don't." With that being said, this has been Relationships in Progress with your host, LaShonda Thomas of Lioness Counseling. If you want to contact me regarding any of the information that I have presented, contact me at 817-888-8009 or via email at lionesscounseling@gmail.com. Please follow me on all of my social medias if you want to post about a topic you would like me to talk about or just have a question in general. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lioness Counseling on everything. I hope this has been very informational and I hope that this can change someone's lives. Please pass on this information as it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month and we need to stop the silence. It's been real, y'all. Until next time.